I'm Zonile Ngubeni and you're watching Joburg Today.
Tackling the African water sector was a key focus at the recently held Water Show Africa. Now, water, like electricity, is still considered a rare commodity in many parts of Africa. However, globally, access to clean water remains a challenge too. An estimated 1.1 billion people worldwide struggle to access this precious resource. This figure is on the increase.
The water crisis generally is a governance crisis. That's really what it is in terms of how is this water being managed. Of course, there are other constraints, but mostly we know it's at a policy and really a leadership level. But there's also the fact that the water sector requires huge investments. And sometimes, of course, countries cannot necessarily afford it. But in other cases, we also have where countries do not necessarily prioritize the water sector in their annual budgets or in the visions of these countries. We see quite a bit of innovation coming out of civil society. And lately, as I mentioned, we're seeing the private sector, through their CSR programs, getting into now the development of these technologies. Yes, you have the urban type of technology, which are these big type of programs and projects, mostly to serve the urban center. But we're also seeing quite a bit of work actually being done within the rural area and in the marginalized community.
About 30 to 40% of the chemicals we require for wastewater treatment, etc., is actually sitting in our sludge. And what we do is that we keep buying this expensive resource rather than saying we can harvest it and offset it because it's sitting in our backyard. So if we are treating and managing and recovering all these elements and nutrients from the sludge, the products we're producing are much safer for the environment. We use 40% of our water in transporting 200 grams of feces we produce as a human being on a daily basis. Okay, so we're taking 200 grams, we're mixing it with this 40%, that's close to about 250 liters of per capita per day. We're polluting that water. Okay, all we have to do is don't flush. There's technologies not to flush. So we are now evolving new technologies where you don't need to flush water, your feces. We can treat it on site with more modern techniques.
Cost effectiveness is quite a tricky word because you need to be able to strike a balance between cost in terms of being cheap and available, but as well as cost in terms of the health aspects of your cost effectiveness. So you need to be able to strike a balance between a technology that will say, for example, will be affordable as well as produce the highest quality results for what you're looking at in this case, which is clean, good quality water, fit for whatever particular purpose that you're looking at. We need to look at the policies, the education to say what do people understand by water, what do they understand about the clean provision of water, what do they understand about wastage and what technologies can we. But what is also important is that then we need to collectively work together to advance innovative solutions for whatever that we're looking at.
In reality, there should be a balance in terms of as infrastructure is being planned to be developed, that at that particular stage, operations and maintenance is brought throughout the value chain, not only being an afterthought, because in reality what is haunting us is to put the millions and billions of investments in the incapable hands of municipalities, and then we don't ensure that it's well taken care after. We have to recognize that the value chain of water services infrastructure starts with conceptualization up to operations and maintenance. There is enough skills, but it's just that currently what we are facing as employers of those skills, even the technical skills, is the budget. I think for quite some time, even to fill a vacated post is becoming a challenge. Not only within Amatola Water, but I think it has been a trend even with other departments. The imbalance between the operational cost and the grant funding. Government entities over-relying on consultants because obviously with conditional grant, you've got a luxury to appoint expertise, but you can't use the conditional grant to operate.